Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Yesterday's applause will not build today's strength. Yesterday's victories will not fight today's battles. Yesterday's medals will not carry today's weight. You cannot live off memory. You cannot eat old bread. You cannot drink from an empty cup. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Most people don't understand this. They think their past defines their future. They think what they once did is who they are forever. They think one success means a lifetime of greatness. But life does not care about yesterday. Life demands proof today. Life demands sacrifice today. Life demands discipline today. You cannot pay today's price with yesterday's coins. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Think about it. How many people start sentences with "I used to"? I used to be fit. I used to be disciplined. I used to be successful. They live in the museum of their past. They point to dusty trophies as if they are still alive. They tell stories of what once was, while their present rots. They cling to ashes and call it fire. But ashes cannot burn. Ashes cannot build. Ashes cannot light the way. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Here's a quotable line: past glory is smoke. Only today's fire gives heat. Most people celebrate too long. They reach one summit and call it the mountain. They cross one finish line and think the race is over. They reach one milestone and stop walking. But that person, the one who rises, knows better. That person knows every summit reveals a higher peak. That person knows every finish line is the start of a new race. That person knows pride is an enemy and work is a weapon. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Story 1. A young athlete won a national title. For weeks, he celebrated. For months, he replayed the moment in his head. He told the story to everyone. But while he celebrated, others trained. While he rested, others built strength. The next year, he was crushed. His body was weaker. His mind slower. His pride betrayed him. And then he understood, medals cannot fight for you. Trophies cannot train for you. Past wins cannot protect you. Only work today can. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Most people love to talk about what they did. They say, "I once," but that person, the one who rises, doesn't say, "I once." They say, "I will." They say, "I am." They say, "Today." They know words about the past are hollow. They know actions in the present are everything. They know life rewards today, not yesterday. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Here's another quotable line: you cannot live on yesterday's meal. Hunger returns every day. Story 2. A businessman closed one big deal. It made him rich, respected, admired. He told the story for years. He wore his success like a crown. But while he spoke, others worked. Competitors rose. He stayed the same. His empire shrank. His pride froze him. Meanwhile, another man worked quietly. Every day he built, every day he grew. 10 years later, the quiet man owned the market. The proud man owned only memories. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Most people confuse pride with identity. They think one achievement makes them special forever. They carry the memory like armor. But armor rusts if you never fight again. The battle is daily. The war is endless. That person knows this. That person sharpens the sword again and again. That person trains even after winning. That person prepares even after victory. Because they know yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Here's another quotable line: pride is rust. Work is steel. Story 3. A soldier came home from war with medals on his chest. He was honored, respected, celebrated. For years, he lived in those stories. For years, he introduced himself by what he once did. But his health faded, his discipline broke, his leadership dimmed. One day he realized the man in the story was gone. And so he rebuilt. He trained again. He served again. He worked again. His legacy was not what he had done, but what he continued to do. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Most people believe myth that once successful means always successful. They think history is destiny. But destiny is written in the present, not the past. History is gone. Today is alive. The future is waiting. And pride will blind you if you let it. That person refuses pride. That person refuses to live in stories. That person builds new stories. That person fights new battles. That person works today. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Here's another quotable line: celebrate yesterday, but only for a night. Then return to war. Most people use pride as an excuse to stop. They say, I've already done enough. I've already achieved more than others. They settle. They stagnate. They rot. But that person knows there is no enough. That person knows there is no finish line in growth. That person knows the only true death is when you stop moving. That person lives hungry. That person lives urgent. That person knows yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Story 4. A singer had one hit song. The world loved her. For years, she sang that song, told that story, lived in that moment. But her career never grew. She was a prisoner of her pride. Another singer, less famous, wrote every day. Song after song, even when no one listened. Years later, her music filled the world. Because she worked when others bragged. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Most people think discipline is temporary. They fight hard until they win, then they relax. But discipline is not temporary. Discipline is eternal. Discipline is renewed every morning. Discipline is the fuel of greatness. That person knows this. That person does not rest on old strength. That person builds new strength. That person is humble enough to know that yesterday is gone, and today is all that matters. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Here's another quotable line: the past is a story. The present is a battle. Look at your own life. How many times have you looked back at old victories as if they were shields? How many times have you told yourself, I used to be, instead of I am? How many times have you let yesterday feed your ego while today starved your dream? If you keep clinging to yesterday, tomorrow will bury you. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Story 5. A student graduated top of his class. He was proud. He believed that achievement would carry him forever. He stopped learning. He stopped working. He repeated his past to anyone who would listen. But his classmates kept growing. They studied. They improved. They advanced. 10 years later, they surpassed him. His pride froze him, their work lifted them. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Most people fear losing relevance. But they don't realize they lose it by standing still. The world moves. The world evolves. The world rewards today, not yesterday. That person moves with it. That person grows with it. That person refuses to stop. Because they know the truth, yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. And so the truth echoes louder. Pride is dangerous. Pride blinds you. Pride weakens you. Pride lies. But work is the cure. Work is the fire. Work is the weapon. And every day, the question comes, will you live in pride or will you live in work? Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Yesterday's victory will not fight today's battle. Yesterday's applause will not lift today's weight. Yesterday's success will not write today's story. The truth is simple, you cannot live on memory. You cannot eat old bread. You cannot drink from an empty cup. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Most people live in the shadow of yesterday. They replay old victories as if they still matter. They cling to old titles, old trophies, old applause. They say, I used to. They say, back then I was. They think history is destiny. But that person, the one who rises, knows better. That person knows history is over. That person knows destiny is built in the present. That person knows the only proof of greatness is repetition. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Here's a quotable line, legacy is not what you did once. Legacy is what you do daily. Most people celebrate too long. They win one game and think the season is over. They finish one project and believe they are done. They treat one chapter like the whole book. But that person celebrates briefly, then returns to discipline. That person enjoys the moment but refuses to live in it. That person turns victories into fuel, not furniture. They know work must be renewed every day. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Story 1. A boxer won a title fight. The cameras flashed. The crowd screamed. 4 months he lived in that moment. He gave interviews, he soaked in fame, he told the story again and again. But while he celebrated, his rivals trained. When the rematch came, he was destroyed. His body was slower, his mind duller. His pride had betrayed him. Only when he humbled himself, only when he trained again like a beginner, did he rise. He learned the truth, pride cannot fight for you. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Most people think discipline is a season. They train hard until they win, then relax. They fight hard until they reach the goal, then stop. But discipline is not seasonal. Discipline is eternal. Discipline is the daily fuel of greatness. That person knows this. That person doesn't rest on old effort. That person renews discipline every morning. That person understands, yesterday's discipline is gone. Today's discipline is required. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Here's another quotable line, discipline expires daily. You must earn it again. Story 2. A student graduated top of his class. He was proud. For years he bragged about his grades. He believed the diploma would carry him forever. But he stopped learning. He stopped growing. His pride became his ceiling. Meanwhile, his classmates studied, grew, advanced. A decade later, he was stuck while they surpassed him. His pride was loud, but his progress was silent. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Most people confuse responsibility with history. They think, I once worked hard, so I deserve to rest forever. But responsibility never ends. Every role, every dream, every mission demands new work daily. That person understands this. That person carries responsibility forward, not backward. That person knows titles don't matter, work does. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Story 3. A CEO built a company from nothing. He became wealthy, respected, admired. But he grew lazy. He stopped showing up. He trusted yesterday's achievements to protect tomorrow. Competitors rose. His empire collapsed. Meanwhile, another leader built quietly, worked daily, stayed humble. Years later, the second leader thrived while the first faded. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Here's a quotable line: pride is debt. Work is payment. Fear often hides behind pride. Most people use old victories as shields because they are afraid of new battles. They say, I've done enough. They say, I've proved myself already. But the truth is, they are afraid to fail again. That person refuses fear. That person embraces new fights. That person knows yesterday's win means nothing if they refuse today's challenge. You cannot fear forward while holding pride backward. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Story 4. A singer had one hit song. The world loved her. She lived in that spotlight for years, singing the same song, telling the same story. But new voices rose. She was forgotten. Another singer, less famous, wrote every day. Song after song, performance after performance. Years later, her music filled the world. Because she refused pride and embraced work. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Most people crave comfort after success. They say, I've earned this. I can relax now. But comfort kills greatness. Comfort weakens warriors. Comfort destroys vision. That person refuses comfort. That person keeps the hunger alive. That person knows comfort is the coffin of champions. They stay sharp, stay ready, stay humble. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Here's another quotable line: comfort after victory is the beginning of defeat. Story 5. A runner broke a personal record. He was proud. He thought he had reached his peak. He slowed down training, thinking the achievement was enough. Months later, he lost badly. His pride betrayed him. But then he changed. He started training harder than before. He broke his record again. He understood that victories are temporary, but discipline is forever. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Most people let moods decide their actions. After success, their mood says, you can rest now. After applause, their mood says, you've done enough. But moods are liars. Moods are fleeting. That person refuses moods. That person obeys mission, not feelings. That person knows moods pass, but work lasts. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Here's another quotable line: pride feeds the ego. Work feeds the future. Vision. Most people let pride blind them to the future. They look back so much, they stop looking forward. They believe yesterday's mountain is the highest. But that person keeps vision alive. That person knows the summit is never final. That person knows the dream expands as they grow. That person refuses to let pride shrink their future. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Story 6. A poor boy became the first in his family to graduate college. Everyone celebrated. For a while, he lived in that victory. But one day he realized his degree was only a door, not a destination. If he stopped there, his family's story would stop too. So he worked harder, learned more, built more. Years later, he lifted his whole family out of poverty. Because he refused to let pride freeze his vision. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Most people think serving others is optional after success. They say, "I've already done enough. I deserve to focus on myself." But service is never finished. Service is the true measure of greatness. That person knows this. That person serves more after success, not less. That person uses their victories to lift others. That person knows the truth: pride is selfish, but work is service. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Here's another quotable line: true greatness is not yesterday's story. It is today's service. So look at your own life. Look at the victories you cling to. Look at the pride you hold. Look at the moments you replay again and again. And ask yourself, are they building your future or blinding it? Are they fueling you or freezing you? Are they helping you rise or keeping you stuck? The answer is clear. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Say it. Say it again. Let it burn inside you. Because this is the line between victory and defeat. This is the wall between destiny and decay. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Most people never learn this. They live trapped in stories. They say, "I was great once." They say, "I achieved something once." They decorate their walls with fading photos. They replay old victories like broken records. But while they talk, their life shrinks. While they brag, their strength fades. While they celebrate, their future dies. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. That person, the one who rises, knows the truth. They celebrate briefly, then sharpen the sword again. They smile at the memory, then sweat in the present. They honor the past, but they fight for today. Because they know yesterday's fuel is burned. Yesterday's fire is gone. Today needs its own flame. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Here's a quotable line: you cannot live on echoes. You must sing again. Most people surrender after one victory. They think the crown is permanent. They think the title is forever. They think they can relax while the world keeps moving. But the crown rusts. The title fades. The world does not stop. And those who rest on pride are left behind. That person refuses to stop. That person fights again, works again, proves again. That person knows every day is a test. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Look at history. Empires collapsed when leaders grew proud. Champions fell when they stopped training. Artists disappeared when they stopped creating. Pride blinded them. Pride weakened them. Pride destroyed them. But those who stayed humble, those who kept working, those who built daily, they endured. They rose higher. They left legacies. Because they knew the truth, yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Here's another quotable line: pride is the enemy of progress. Most people cling to pride because they fear the present. They fear they can't repeat their success. They fear they can't rise again. So they hide behind old victories. But hiding is death. Fear is death. That person faces the present. That person refuses fear. That person works today with courage, even if it means starting small again. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Most people think success is permanent. But success evaporates. Success is rented, never owned. And rent is due every day. That person pays the price daily. That person understands you cannot pay today with yesterday's coin. You must earn it again. You must prove it again. You must fight again. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Here's another quotable line: success is temporary. Work is forever. So what about you? Will you be most people living in the shadows of yesterday? Will you polish old trophies while your present crumbles? Will you tell stories while your future slips away? Or will you be that person? Will you rise today? Will you work today? Will you build today? Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Say it louder. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Say it until your bones believe it. Say it until your heart beats with it. Say it until your actions prove it. Because this is not about the past. This is about now. This is about what you choose today. This is about the sweat you give today. This is about the courage you showed today. The future doesn't care about yesterday. The future is built only by today. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Most people will hear this and do nothing. They will nod. They will agree. Then they will return to comfort. But not you. Not this time. You have heard the call. You have felt the fire. You know the truth. Yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. Be that person today. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Today. Because tomorrow is a lie. Later is a thief. Someday is a grave. Only today is real. Only today is yours. Only today is alive. Be that person today. Not tomorrow. Because yesterday's pride will not replace today's work. And only today's work will build tomorrow's pride. So rise. Sweat. Build. Fight. Live. Be that person today. Not tomorrow.